We just love to welcome everybody here today. And we're talking about some things that could be a heavy subject, which is estate planning and writing a will. But I first want to begin by just grounding ourselves here and thinking about what we are grateful for in our lives and what we're proud of ourselves for. Because arriving at this time of our lives, a lot of us have experienced a lot of life. And I think taking a moment to be proud of ourselves and grateful for who we are is important. So if you'll just take a few deep breaths thinking about those things with me, just ground yourself here with a deep breath in through your belly, breathing through your nose for 4 counts. And exhale with a sigh if you have one. And take another deep breath in through your belly. And exhale. Let out a sigh if you can. We're going to do it 2 more times. Take deep breath in for 4 counts and let it out for 4 counts. And one more. Deep breath in and let it out with a sigh. So before we dive into this great topic and listen to our expert Nola Force today, I would like to welcome you by maybe getting a piece of paper or a journal to write a little bit or think about before we go on. What some reflections I was thinking about, which is to consider just what you are leaving behind, what you want your life to stand for. And when you're looking at all of these documents, it's not just about documents, it's about what kind of legacy are your daily choices already creating? Like what do you value? And one of the things I wanted to give a perspective on is what I call the wheel of awareness and legacy. So I'm wanting you to picture like a circle or a wheel with 6 spokes, and each spoke represents a channel of life that shapes the legacy you're leaving behind. And at the center of the circle is the word awareness. So from the center, these 6 channels extend outward, and the first one is your physical life, like health, energy, your body that carries you through life. The next spoke is your emotional life, how we experience feelings and navigate stress and relationships. And the next spoke is your mental life, how you think about things, your decisions, your planning and problem solving. And another spoke is your spiritual life, your values and meaning and sense of purpose. And another spoke, your 5th spoke, is your relational life, your family, your friendships, your community, the people you share your life with. And another spoke, the 6th spoke, is the financial life, the resources that we manage and eventually pass forward. And I'm thinking of the legacy as the outer ring, where all of this comes to bring it all together to what are you passing on and who do you want to pass it on to. And most of us spend our lives thinking about just 1 or 2 of these things, like work and financial survival. A lot of people are stuck there. But when we bring all of those awarenesses in, those channels together, we tend to have a more balanced and intentional life. So thank you for letting me explain something like that as a context for what we're going to go into, which is this estate planning, where many of these channels meet. It's a reflection of our values and protecting our relationships and organizing our financial resources that support the people we care about. So in this way, I'm passing on the focus onto my wonderful mother, Nola Force, who has been my mentor, my teacher, as well as my greatest supporter and cheerleader in my life. And I'm happy to spend my birthday day today with all of you and my mother, because I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I feel like this is a sacred time. And I now introduce Nola Force.
Good morning. Hi, everybody. Oh, for those of you that were with me last time, you knew I was in the middle of an allergy attack and an eye infection. And I just want to start with that because at 84, I have some perspective over my life and what's occurred and what keeps transitioning and creating a new phase. And what I'm learning, my eye infection is back, by the way. So I have this for about the 6 week, but it's become a friend because what I realize spirits helped me with and helped my physical body, my emotional, mental, and spiritual bodies. I asked for this period of time at my birthday, starting Monday, preparing me for a transition to be the most effective I can be during my 80s. Um, since I've worked a lot in estate planning as both a coach and a personal advisor and financial advisor and paralegal, I'm 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 aware of the way that people are not wanting to look at the planning for their demise. They don't want to look at the end of life as so many people look at it. So if we go back to the wheel that Elizabeth created for us, which I love, I mean, it just explains it completely, and really look at what our life is all about, it kind of points us to our spiritual side to start with, to me, and the values and meaning of why we're even here. What's our life purpose? What are our gifts? What are our challenges, etc.? So I'm just saying that that's where I'm at now. So whatever I'm sharing with you today, it has a lot with me coming in after about a 5 year period. Every 5 years, I look at my estate documents and I say, what changes do I want to make? How different am I, or how have my circumstances changed? And in order to make changes to an estate plan, we have the amendments to our trust, we have the codicils to our will. So I want to go over this in a way that helps you become more proficient in what these documents are and what they do. And I'm wide open to questions at any time. So stop me if I'm going too slow or too fast. I kind of look at estate planning as you have essentially two essential directives that everyone should have. One is a power of attorney for health. Some people call it a medical directive. Others call it an advanced health directive. It's where if something happens to you as the main director of your health and well-being, you know someone that you have confidence in that can give the direction for you. And this document usually speaks to the things that your new uh, trustee or power of attorney or medical directive attorney, whatever we want to call them, what they can do for you in your absence or incapability.
I want you
So
to stop right there and just give a little anecdote story of an example of when you've helped somebody go through this process and they had to pick somebody. Can you think of a story that exemplifies somebody who waited too long to do this?
I have, it's hard to choose which one to tell you about. Because
Just
what,
along the way, as you tell us
yeah,
about these documents, can you give us some of your life experiences, which will help ground these, why it's so necessary and why people put it off too long
sure.
when they know it's right?
Let's look at the medical care directive. And that is, I'm going to give you the story of Michael, who was a friend of mine and a church member. I was a member at the time of the Unity Church in Santa Barbara. And he was a volunteer on the board that did the maintenance and the work around the church. And one day, after quite a few years of service, he fell off a high ladder and had brain damage. Rushed to the hospital. He was in a coma for 4, 5, 6 months. He had a house leased, and his fiancee, he was divorced, but was planning his wedding. His fiancee lived in the house with him, and all of a sudden, she couldn't pay the rent on the house, the utilities, or anything else. So two things come in here. One is a medical care directive. They didn't know who to ask on what to do in the decisions for surgery. She was not married to him at the time. They could not locate, both his parents were deceased and he had no children. So what do you do? Well, they called Nola. I was known as the paralegal at the church. So they called me and I said, if he can't sign, he's in a coma. You just have to figure out what the legal rights are you to give him some help. And of course, doctors take over at that point. The second thing that affected the same man is his fiance went to pay the rent and utilities, and she couldn't get access to the money because the account was still under the beneficiary statement of the ex-wife. He had failed to take that off in the divorce, and the divorce had been at least 10 years ago. So that was the second point. So that's one example, and things like this happen, and that's why I'm sharing with you the three documents. If you have no estate documents, the three I would make sure I have this week is a medical directive or medical power of attorney, a financial power of attorney, and a will. And we'll get into it as we go, the difference between a will and a living trust. And I want to talk to you about probate and how it functions.
Yeah, I just want to invite Michelle at this moment if you feel like sharing a little bit about your mom not doing a whole lot with any kind of organizing of her stuff. And you could always talk about that later, Michelle, when it's time. But at least she did put you in some documents, so you didn't have to go through probate. But
Actually, she put me on almost all documents, except for one, and that was the very last of the safe deposit boxes, because I'd been on her safe deposit boxes for years.
Okay.
And this one, I found the document that was supposed to come to me. It'd been sitting on her printer for 18 years.
Oh my.
Okay, so, because, well, she'd gotten sick.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was on all of the other previous documents.
Good.
And because she did her power of attorney, the sick thing, the what is that
Medical,
thing? There
medical.
you go.
Yeah.
Right, quit claim deed, all that fun stuff. But the last safe deposit box I was not on, and so yeah, I do get to deal with probate just to see what's in the box, which I'm guessing is probably going to be one of those, Geraldo Rivera. Um, who was that? Was it Bugsy Malone or Al Capone? Someone's safe that he was able to get into, and there was nothing in there.
Yeah, yeah. So you're expecting that.
I'm expecting that. That way, I'm not disappointed. But I did ask the my proxy to film it so that I can at least get that kind of pleasure out of it.
Okay, sounds good.
You figure you're spending $1,000 to open a box,
You ought
and
to
if
get
there's no
something.
right, so film that, and I'll have some amusement. If there's something in there, great. If there's nothing in there, well, there's my Geraldo moment.
Yeah. Since you just recently went through this, Michelle, can I ask a couple questions that I think we
Sure.
can all relate to? Did your mother have a will and a trust?
Yes.
Good. Because I want to just mention as I move into the two powers of attorney, one for health and one for finances.
Nope. She did all of that.
Good. And then
Um,
and the properties, if she left any, were in either the will or the living trust?
um, both. And as she was getting sicker, the quit claim deed was given to me. So her neighbor actually told her, says, "Here, you need to sign this," and went through the attorney and got the quit claim deed, because otherwise I would be in probate for the property right now instead of putting it up for sale.
So the property was not in the trust.
It was originally, but then, like I said, so she wrote that stuff out like 15 years earlier.
Right.
And then about 6 or 7 years ago, when she started getting really sick,
Right.
or when her illness progressed, her neighbor suggested to her that the quit claim deed, since my brother was already dead and there was nobody else going to get the property.
Right.
And so she did that, and she knew I wasn't going to take it from her.
Okay,
And
so
so,
the property was in her name and she put it in the trust through a quitclaim deed
no, it was in trust first, and then she did the quit claim deed.
to you.
So she did the trust back in I think 2002,
Yeah.
and the quit claim deed in I think 19.
Okay, what I want to mention, since that's why I'm asking,
Also, this is in Florida, so things might be a little different.
that's true. That's true. Which state are we working with? You're right.
Yeah.
Because in California, you avoid probate by putting your real estate in a trust.
Okay.
And
And
if
my
it's,
question is, if you have it in the trust, is the quick claim deed even necessary?
no, it isn't. It's not usually done. That's why I'm asking.
Ah, well,
And and the
I don't know
reason,
how things work in Florida. I just figured,
yeah.
if someone from Florida is going to tell me this and talk to an attorney, then by golly, I'm going to talk to an attorney because I don't know squat.
Well, there's another thing that I think we share with Florida, and we have it here in California, which is fairly new in California. We have a deed upon death. You can execute a deed while you're alive that goes to whoever you want the property to go to, and it does not take effect. You still own it, and you can live there or do whatever you want. But upon your death, it transfers to the other party.
Now, do they have to pay probate or anything like that?
No,
Because,
no, it avoids probate. But, and I just want to say to people, when you do your estate, make sure you get a CPA, an accountant, look at it, because my understanding in California is if a property is in a trust and the person dies, then the property gets adjusted in value upon the death when the trust assets are being distributed, gets boost to the property value at the time of death.
wait a
But
minute. So my husband and I are both on the trust for our property,
it's in the
joint
trust.
tenants.
Joint tenants is not a trust.
Oh, that's how we bought the house. But I know we did a trust
Well, you
because
did a trust, okay.
we did a
Um,
trust a few years ago.
and you put the property in it
Yes,
as joint tenants.
I guess. I don't remember the exact terminology.
Because joint tenants is a right of survivorship.
That's what we have.
Okay, okay. I'm not going to get into the nuts and bolts of it, but what I'm trying to come up to is make sure that what you do, like getting a review on your trust, Michelle, your mom's was so old. I'm assuming she had an attorney look at it at least every 10 years, if not every 5 years. Or
We're gonna go with the she did it once, and then when the neighbor spoke to her, she took care of that. So when she like, oh no, wait, I take that back. She did it in 2002. Oh no, she didn't do that again after my brother died. Now that I'm thinking about it, because I have to get his proof of death certificate. There we go.
it would just be okay. So so you're in a mixture of the trust and probate, and your probate is only on one property, one bank account.
One property. I was on all the bank accounts.
Good, good. So see, how you take title is really important. And I'm not going to speak too much about Florida because I don't know it as much as California. Um, and I don't practice law. That's one thing I want to say to everybody. This comes out of my pure experience with clients over 30 years and my own. So I'm hoping that what we're talking about today gets you to ask questions and check what goes on in your own life and what works for you based on your values and what you want your legacy to look like. So let's move on. I'm glad, Michelle, it worked out as well as it did for you. And I really applaud your mom. She tried to take care of you by getting her things updated.
She did try. She
Yeah,
wasn't well, but she did try, and I appreciate that. I mean, there were moments that I was definitely not happy with her,
th-
but I kept thinking, okay, but she was sick. She did her best.
yeah. And did you have any chance to give her input? And my mother, passed at 96, and she wouldn't hear my input. She just wanted
Uh,
to do everything her own way.
Actually, my input was to tell her not to put either me or my brother on her deed because my brother was trying to get her deed.
Ah,
And I said, no, no. She says, well, he said that it would be better tax wise. And no, I said, no, this is your home. You keep it. Do not put anyone other than yourself on the deed until you're ready to die because if you put him on, he's going to throw you out.
that's why it
Well,
needed to be in the trust.
and, and I actually had fought with him about that because he said, we got to get her in, we got to put her in an institution. We can sell the condo.
Yeah,
And I said, no, she's not going to die homeless.
yeah,
And I will put my credit against yours
yeah. Good,
to be sure that she is not homeless. And she never went back to her home after she was taken from it, but she always had that home. It was
good,
it was always there for her. That
good.
was my promise. And now
That's
I'm getting
well,
rid of it. Anybody interested in a condo?
not in Florida.
Okay.
I wish you well, Michelle, as you finish up what you're doing with your mom's estate.
Thank you.
You're
I'll go
welcome.
to mute and let you talk some more.
Okay. Well, we've. Are there any questions, or am I clear enough, or is this discussion helping on the two powers of attorney for medical and financial?
I just want to quickly, as housekeeping, that after each person gives feedback, mute yourself because otherwise the camera likes to switch to each person that has noise in the background. So anyway, thank you.
Okay, good. Let's move on to a will. Today, to focus on one document, and this is what I did when I taught at the Grange 15 years ago. We actually sat down and wrote our wills, if you remember, Michelle. Debbie, if you'll remember, you had an opportunity over a 4-hour session, I think, to write your own will. So I want to talk about that third document that I think is essential for everybody, and that is a will. A will does not avoid probate. In California, there is a minimum that if your estate is on the small side, you can make an application for a fast probate. And that cuts your costs for probate down considerably and the time it takes to probate. But what's the most important thing in a will? It's to choose your executor. Who is the person that reflects your values, has the resource or good judgment to get help if he needs it or she needs it? And what's your relationship with them? Is it ongoing or does it change often? These are the things that you should look at it. Who's going to be your executor or executrix if it's a woman? People mix up the executor from the trustee. The executor is the person in charge of your will. The trustee is the person you name to follow you as the person who guides your living trust. The will, when you have a trust, usually has two reasons for existence. One, which it sounds like Michelle's mother used it with an attorney, a pour over will. And if you're taking notes, there's three types of wills I'd like you to note. One is a general will. The second is a pour over will, and it is executed with a trust, not separately. And the reason for it is there's a statement in it that says, if I forgot to change the title of the property, any properties I owned, into the trust, the trustee can do, the executor can do it for me right now upon my death. And that seems to work well in the state of California. The third type of will is a holographic will. And I want to focus on that a minute. Not all states have them. So if you're working with other states, you'll have to check. In California, holographic wills work. And what you have to remember, the word holographic means is in your own writing, not on a computer, not in handwritten. I suggest you can handwrite it as long as people can read your handwriting, but I suggest you hand print or very clearly handwrite. And a holographic will is entirely in your penmanship. And the things that are essential in that document, and I'm going to start with what I think is one of the most important, and that is where, what place, what physical place are you writing it? Because that's called the jurisdiction. That's where the will be processed. A lot of people will do a holographic will and not put down where it's written. And then they move to another state, but they own property in the first state, and then they don't know where to probate that will. Because wills do get probated if they're done without the trust. It may be a short probate where you get, I can't remember because they keep changing the amount. It used to be about 100,000 and under. There's just one fee for probate, and it can be processed through in less than 6 months. Then and anything over that 100,000 goes into regular probate. And I'll give you a story in just a minute about someone who died without a will, no, without a trust, and all his property ended up in probate through a will. Okay, so in a holographic will, just remember the words aren't as important as the intention. And I want to make this clear. This has served me for 60 years. The law I learned being my own attorney often in all kinds of situations because I couldn't get somebody to believe in me. And it worked. And I prevailed in quite a few of them. I don't sue people, but if somebody sues me because I'm doing business well and they want my money, and believe me, that happens in a greedy nation. And we're based on greed in this business. That's what the value is of American business from my point of view. I just do it differently because I want to affect it differently. I want to build business in a different way. Okay, so bear with me. I just had a senior moment. Where was I?
Intention behind the holographic.
Oh, that's why I took this. I jumped into a rabbit hole here for just a minute. No matter what legal issue you're in, there are two essential things that make up the law. Make a note of it, remember it. One is what's in written form, because oral can be used in a lot of contracts, unless it's real estate, in contracts. And so the court or the judge will determine who is telling the truth. But the second one is intention, called the spirit of the law. So there's the written contract that is honored. I won't even say primarily, because I've won by the intent, by the ambiguity of contracts. How was it interpreted? It was interpreted by the spirit of the action of the parties. So just make a little note to yourself off to the side. All legal documents, and I love to understand what's going on and boil it down to its essentials. And what I kept coming up with every legal situation I became involved with, is it's contracts, the written word, and spirit. What's the intention of the parties and how did they act? Okay, that's my rabbit hole for that subject. Back to holographic. So holographic has to be in your own writing, does not need to be witnessed or notarized. It's better if it is witnessed, and it's probably better that it's witnessed rather than notarized, because the witnesses can attest in a probate court to your ability to make that will. A notary couldn't. So I suggest that if you're going to do a holographic will, that you begin with one that is not witnessed, and then you end up getting yourself two witnesses that you believe will probably be alive after you are deceased and re-sign your will in front of them so that they witness that signature. That's what I would do.
I have a question. Is that taking the place of a notary, or at some point getting a notary is a good idea too?
A notary is not necessary. If you want one, okay, but you're going to have to take the witnesses with you for the notary. But a lot of times you're either handwriting it out because you're alone. The holographic will stand. Quick story. A gentleman that had a net worth here in Santa Barbara over $1 million, his house was worth that all by itself, died without a will. Nobody could find it. His ex-wife, who is a friend of mine, called me in and said, would you help me try to locate on his computer and his documents what he might have meant to be a will? Well, we found a document, and it was a will, and he had signed it, and it had one witness, didn't have two. And we found out in interviewing her, she was married. Her husband had intended to sign it as a second witness and was called away to business. So it had to go into probate court because there was no trust. And it went into probate court, and the court accepted the will. So what happens when you've got a will and it has to be probated? The court has to accept it. So you turn over the documents to the court. So the will goes in and it gets approved by the court, and then it gets probated. If the will lines out who everything goes to, the court will generally follow it. If the will doesn't and leaves certain items that need to be taken care of, there is a California code of how property is distributed to family members. Okay. Questions there?
Thank you for
Yeah, what if
that.
you don't have family members?
Well, you have to decide. That's why you've got the chance to write a will. You can leave it to anybody you want to. But in the event you have property that needs to be distributed and you don't state in your will or your trust, right now we're with a will, who it goes to, the court will have to define who it goes to. And there's a whole set. You can go on and research in the codes of California law how property is distributed through probate without an active will participating in the distribution. It's interesting. And they have to publish, they have to try to find people who are related to you. And trust me, it could take years. Okay, I want to talk about, before I end, on wills. Holographic is important. You may need one yourself. If you don't have a will, at least write one out. If you want to do it during this session and you have a question as you're writing it out, just ask it, okay? Just make sure it has what place are you writing that will at. And you can word it any way you want. I, Nola Force, wish to leave this will for my estate, and here's the way I want it distributed. And then you go through, yeah, you need to state what your assets are, who your beneficiaries are. Good idea to always put names, how they can be contacted, and what your relationship is to them. And I usually attach that as an exhibit. All the people affected by a legal document, I usually attach all their information as an exhibit. Okay, my story that I really want to get home to you happened to me about 5 years ago. I was again at Unity Church, which I was an active member and a member of the Board of Trustees. So people came to me knowing that I had a background in estate planning and paralegal work. I started, I just want to say briefly, as a real estate broker, went into development, construction, building, syndication, and management of properties. So my background is pretty strong for 50 years in those areas. When I took off and traveled, those of you that haven't heard the first tape, I just closed up my business in the 1990s and went camping for about 8 years, just traveling and camping mostly in wilderness and parks and Native American reservations. Just, I had a bucket list of things I wanted to accomplish and learn about. mostly about myself or places I wanted to do. I went through all types of construction, from building pyramids to cob construction, blah, blah. So if you haven't heard our first workshop, that's my story. But in that process, I came back to Santa Barbara to help care for my mother when she was 90, and she did last almost 6 years. And they were the best 6 years I had with her. So I just want to say it's worth intergenerationally taking care of each other. It was a real gift for me. Um, a gentleman came to me, 4 or 5 of them did, that I served on the finance committee with, and said, Nola, I'd like you to be my representative and help me draft a trust and a will. Will you do that? And I said, sure. I'll help you draft it as your coach, and we'll get it reviewed by an attorney, and then you'll be all set. Why don't you meet with me and go over the basics of a trust and a will? He didn't have a medical care directive. He didn't have a financial power of attorney, didn't have a will or a trust. And he was almost 80. And I knew he owned one property in Santa Barbara. I didn't know if he owned anything else and where it was. So we made an appointment. He stood me up. I call him. Oh, I'm sorry, Nola, I forgot. I'll make another appointment. And he didn't show up. So this went like 3 appointments, and I never got together with him. I have notes from the conversations on the phone, but I thought, well, he's found somebody else. Maybe he found an attorney he really liked. So I didn't think more about it. And then I get a call, and he's in the ICU unit in 2020. He got COVID and he had pneumonia, and they didn't expect him to live. And he was on oxygen, and he had them call me, and I was able to talk with him on the speakerphone. He said, no, oh, what he said to them is, Nola is my financial advisor and my paralegal, and she has my trust and all my documents. And so, so his sister, who was there, called me for the documents. And I said, what documents? I don't have any documents. He never showed up. I assumed he went to an attorney. Bottom line was, he was near death. He did not even have a will. And I talked to him on the speakerphone with his doctor present and one nurse in ICU. And he said, can you help me? And I said, can I come see you? And they all said no. And I said, can I draft a document and have the doctor of attendance and the nurse of attendance be your witnesses? And I will do the document with you by phone, deliver it to the hospital, and then they will sign it in your presence when you sign it. We got a will done. And that will, it turned out, he had at least $3 million worth of property outside the state of California. Everything had to be probated. As he's listing all his properties through his sister who was with him, I just said, whoa, why don't we just put your trustee, your sister, in charge of how those properties are going to be listed and attached to this will? And are you comfortable with your sister making decisions on how it's to be distributed? He said, yes. I'm comfortable with my oldest sister making the distribution decisions as my key trustee. The only thing I really want to make sure happens is my partner, I want to have so much money, and I want to leave money to Unity Church. So he left Unity Church about 150, 200,000. And that helped Unity Church a lot during the COVID times. But it took 3 years to get it out of probate. And when it did, there was $500,000 in probate and attorney fees. So I know most of us don't have that. I don't, and I'm sure nobody here has those kind of assets. But it took me only a few hours to get that will done with him on the phone, typed up, delivered to the hospital. The doctor and nurse were fantastic in getting it signed as his witnesses. So he at least had a will. But what if he had just taken care of it early? It would have gone so much smoother. $500,000 wouldn't be lost in probate fees and attorney fees. He ended up having, because it was probated in 2 or 3 states, he had to have 3 probates done. So, that was my most extreme. That was my most extreme.
Yeah, and that's money that could have gone to a loved one, that $500,000. That can make a difference in someone's life rather than to the system. So thanks for sharing that story.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Next, we're going to go into, anybody want to make a comment there, or should we move on to trusts? So far, we have 3 main documents we've covered: medical power of attorney, Medicare, a medical directive, and the financial power of attorney, and the will. The next one, the 4th one, is a trust. Who should have a trust? The main reason for having a trust, you avoid probate. To me, there's 2 main reasons. One, no, I'd say 3. You avoid probate. That means your trustee decides what goes where and what the timing is. It could be, a trust could be handled over 30 or maybe 30 days or 2 months anyway after publishing rights. I think you could do it in 60 to 90 days, because you do have to publish to make sure there's no creditors out there. The second reason is there is usually a stepped up basis on the property value. So say you have property in a trust, and the original trustee, the person who wrote the trust, dies, and the property could have been purchased for, say, 100,000. Now it's worth $1 million. There's a stepped up basis to $1 million, so there's not this huge tax due to the beneficiaries. So having the property in trust has a major advantage. And the third one is that you've got essentially more support with who the property goes to. And you're staying out of the court system unless there's a dispute within the beneficiaries. So who's in a trust? The person who creates a trust. And what are the types of trusts? And the only one I'll really deal with right now is called a living trust. The other word for it is a revocable trust. And like me, when I write one for myself, I call it a living revocable trust. So no one knows the difference, or no one can say it's not a revocable trust. And the idea of it being a living or revocable trust is during your lifetime, you can make any changes in it you want. Can everybody still hear me? Good. Okay. So in a trust, you've got the person who creates it, who is the first trustee. Then you have people who are appointed to follow her or him as the new trustees. And usually, and I recommend it heartily from my experience, you only have one trustee. Don't put it down to 2 or more children or relatives, because then you get into a squabble too often. Who does the work? Who gets this, that, the other thing? You can make decisions on, is the trustee paid for their efforts, or you leave it to their discretion. All that's usually in your setup terminology, so you can make that decision easily. What goes into a trust? All your assets. Usually the only thing that is not in a trust is your retirement accounts. And I'm not saying it can't be. I'm not sure how many of
Michelle, you're going to have to mute because we hear Oscar.
Oh, sorry, I had to chime back in. I didn't realize that I wasn't muted.
Okay. I think you have to do it each time. Yeah, I've got you unmuted or muted now. So in a trust, you have the trustees, you've got the beneficiaries, and those are the people that are going to receive something from the trust. And essentially, the trust has to, uh, what's normal is the trust pays all the taxes and expenses of the trust, and it's not passed on to the beneficiaries. Now, that's your standard living trust, revocable trust. Then there's one where you put property into a trust and it's irrevocable. That means once it goes in, it's very difficult to get it out. Why would you do that? You'd do it for tax reasons. There's a huge benefit in the year you create an irrevocable trust, if you have major assets, of getting a tax write-off for that benefit that you're giving to usually a nonprofit and irrevocable trust in order to get a write-off or a deduction on your estate taxes. Right now, as I understand it, the federal estate tax allows you to have an estate of up to $19 million before they tax it. That doesn't mean the state that you're in won't tax it, but it won't be anywhere near as high as the federal tax. After 19 million, there's a tax due, and it's usually upwards of 50 or 60%.
I have a
Um,
question,
yes,
and it's a little bit off of this right now, but if I don't ask you now, I will forget. Which is, if I have inherited money,
okay.
is that part of community property?
When you say inherited it,
Meaning, when my father died or when my stepmother died.
that's usually your own property, your separate property, unless you commingle it.
So as long as I keep it separate, it's mine.
That's right. That's my, now check it out and you can do it real easily. Just ask the question on Google or AI. But my understanding is as long as you don't commingle it uh, with another person's, like an account that they can also have, you put it in a joint account and you've just lost the privilege. But you keep it,
Okay.
if it's real estate, you keep yourself on title alone.
Okay.
I know
Thank
that
you.
I know that for a fact from personal use. Yeah. You're welcome. No, you can
Okay.
ask me any questions. If I can, if I have the experience of having understood what it's about, I will tell you. Otherwise, I'll tell you where to go.
All
Okay, so
right.
so in a
I'll go
trust,
back to mute.
yeah,
Thank you.
I want to say this to you with all these documents, that this communication era that we live in, I mean, when I started my business, I didn't even have a computer. I had a typewriter. And I had a phone that took me a whole purse to handle because it was so big, portable phone. And I had to hold it with both hands to even make a call. And that was 1976. So what happened, and then the internet wasn't even alive at that point, or it was being used for military reasons. Um, and it wasn't part of the general public. Right now, you can go online and you can get any of the forms we're talking about, fill them out online, print them out, and they're clear and they're easy to use. I use, and I'm going to recommend this to you as just one of the places you should check. If you want a form for almost anything, I would go to nolo.com, Nolo, similar to my name, nolo.com, and it will give you, I think for under $100, you can get everything for a will, trust, and all the other documents. And they're all fill-in things, and they're created by attorneys, about 7 of them, that work together out of Berkeley, California. At least that's how it got started. The other one I use is Law Guru. Um, just one word, Law Guru, Guru. And that does a fairly decent job if I just want a document And I'm talking about now, not just estate documents, but anything. You want to hire somebody, or you want to write a letter for collection of a debt. You want to understand foreclosure, or you want to understand how to go about uh, getting money back from somebody, and you have to write a letter of demand. How do I write a letter of demand? So you can go online now on the internet. Is phenomenal. In fact, now AI will chat chat will give you will write the letter for you. You just have to tell them what the problem is, and they'll write it. So there's so many ways you can protect yourself without a huge expense. If you're going to go to an attorney, and quite often I recommend to the people I work with as a coach, let's draft the documents together, then figure out a $500, maybe more, take it to an attorney, let them read it, and see if any changes have to be made. So far, everybody that's worked with me hasn't had to change anything. So it's the documents that are legal because they're coming out of legal sites. Um, I have clients I work with still um, where they're paying 5 to 10,000 just to get a trust done because their assets are complicated. Most small attorneys charge somewhere between 1,500 and 2,500 for an estate plan. Anyway, that's just so there's a real good reason to go online and get self-sufficient. If you have a son or a grandson or a granddaughter or a close friend that is experienced in life and business, have them help you. Works out great. That's why I coach. And I just sit beside the person with software and we write out the documents. Just a question and answer. That's how they're all set up. I want to talk about a couple more things. I've just gone through the basic documents, the two powers, the will, the trust. Now I want to talk to you about two documents that I found were really helpful to include in your estate documents. One is a letter to people that you are very close to, that you would like to basically claim them as part of your legacy, or things you want to say to them that you may have said already to them verbally, but after your passing would be important for them to hear from you in writing. The second one is to create a document that includes the following: a list of people, and I usually suggest 10 to 20 people, family, friends, neighbors, whoever you talk about, that you would want to have notified if something happened to you. That could be your death, it could be an accident, it could be a disease, but people that you might want to ask help from if you needed it. In that document, you'd also give your choice of the people that you've been happy working with, medically, professionally. Hopefully, there's an attorney or an accountant in there and a doctor. The reason and the last thing in this document is your passwords and all the accounts you have. Where is that going to be listed somewhere? Put an exhibit as your will, an exhibit of your trust, or just do it as a separate document. But each year, just take a look at all your accounts, passwords, and just make a list, or photocopy your credit cards, or photocopy your bank statements, or whatever you have to do. But that would save your family or your close friends, if you don't have family, in handling your estate tremendously, whether an attorney is involved or not. One of the reasons I ask you to do this about the 10 to 20 people is I got involved um, when friends of mine had major illnesses and diseases and needed care. I took a course called Share the Care, and it's online. You can go to sharethecare.org, and it will break down if you need to put together a care team for yourself or for other people, how do you do it? What are the forms for creating people to help you long term or short term? I was part of several care teams in the different churches I belonged to, usually where they had cancer or some kind of illness that created a problem in them either needing help within their home or in going to doctors or writing letters or whatever it happens to be. I usually became the broth maker. So I'd show up with the healing broth because that's one of the things I do. So that's kind of my comments. I call my little talk that I gave you today the 7 paper acts of service for you to do for those you love. And I included the last couple of them that I talked about, writing letters to people that you care about, making a document or two about all your accounts, passwords. Um, I like to keep a copy of my current annual budget so that they know what's being paid automatically through my bank and what's paid quarterly and annually. These are just things that really help. That's what I'm in the middle of kind of updating right now for my family. And I think it's really critical that we do it. So that's about what I have to offer everybody.
Well, take a breath. That was a lot. And, I don't know if anybody needs to go to the bathroom or get a glass of water before we,
I need a water.
yeah, go into question and answer and wrap it up. If you want to get up right now and get a glass of water, go for it. I will hum you a song or tell you a joke.
Let's go. We call this a 5-minute break.
That's right. Go have a 5-minute break and we'll be back.
How you doing, Elizabeth?
I'm so glad that you could join me on my birthday, even if it wasn't physical.
I know, huh? Huh.
Yes, I'm so
Happy
happy to see
birthday.
your smiley face.
Uh,
It's a great way to spend my birthday to have you with me here.
uh, I wish
And,
could
not
have.
an easy topic, but I'm hoping you're getting value out of it.
Well, she's helping me because I put together a trust, and so she's helping me to. I'm going to go over it and make sure. I did talk to a trust lawyer here, and he helped me adjust it for Oregon and for California because the kids are in California, blah, blah, blah.
Right,
Anyway, but I'll be able to, it'll give me a good thing to open it up and look at everything and make sure I'm covered, number one. And I love her suggestions about writing letters and
right.
what else did she say? I gotta find it.
Yeah, I wrote it down too.
I got all these little pieces of paper here. Uh,
Right? Yeah, you don't think of these things.
yeah, like you know have writing the letters to the people or things that you'd like to say, a document to notify, list the people to who you want to notify that you've been dead. What a wonderful thing to do instead of someone going, oh, like my
Right,
cousin, my uncle Clarence, he died 2 months ago. Oh, I just found out.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Sorry.
don't think of these things at the time we're alive. It's like so important.
Passwords and accounts. I
Yeah.
mean, I think I did think of that one,
Oh,
but the accounts part I didn't. And like listing your credit cards and saying, this is this, you need to cancel this or whatever.
right. These little details that, somebody who's dealing with it, like my friend Michelle was doing, you have to piece it together on what did they leave behind, and there was no direction.
Directions. And I love the auto pay one. I went, oh my God, no kidding.
Right. So
That could,
that's
yeah. So,
that could wipe out the account that you could just say, you know, they're
exactly.
deceased now.
Oh, well, you had $200,000 in it, but uh,
Right,
your
it's gone
internet
now.
service has been on for 12 years.
Right. And I love the experience my mom had with share the care. So when somebody's ill, or there are people to call upon
Shit,
that can help.
I
And I
wonder.
know that's a lot of the reason people, join a church community or some kind of community group, because people care and might show up to bring you food if you're really ill. Of course,
Yeah,
I'll
that's
be right
really,
there to help you.
and I need that because I moved away,
Yeah.
Exactly. Well,
so
good. We have the wonderful Nola with us again. We're reviewing the notes that we took of your wonderful presentation.
Good. Was there something any of you can offer me that would make it clearer or that was particularly of interest to you?
well, for me, I was just telling Elizabeth, like, I mean, I took your first class, right? So I
Correct.
knew what to do, and I ended up opening up a trust.
Good.
So, but I love the things that you said. Well, I wrote down lots of notes. I'm going to check everything to make sure I really have everything. But I love that you gave those little hints at the end, like document the list of people you'd like to notify for your death. That's so
Yeah.
cool. It
Yeah.
really is. And then,
Very few people, Debbie, do that. And that's what I found was really critical at the end.
yeah,
People that wanted to know about it or that you wanted to know about your passing. I work a lot with hospice, And so I've been end of life coaching.
Mm.
I've done that for about 20 years. I'm considered a death doula in some ways. And it was just important to me to give of service when I was traveling. I wanted to help people. And things like that matter to them their last few hours, and they don't have the information anywhere that can be found.
Right. Yeah. And the auto pay thing, that was great. I'm like, oh, no kidding. Anyway, so those were really good to and the share the care thing. I'm gonna look that up because I live by myself and um I don't I mean I just will I'm not gonna go live with my son and his family after what they did and everything. So forget that. But I'm gonna have to take care of myself.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I did with Share the Care for. I got a couple of grants to pay for my time and my assistance. And I went to all the churches locally and taught them how to create the care teams.
Oh.
And so I gave, and any of you that want information from any of this stuff that I have, I can either email to or send a hard copy. Because I have the documents from Share the Care. I have this document that I gave today, the 7 paper acts of service to those you love. So anything I can help you with that'll help you, I'm open to it.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go through my stuff and make sure and I got everything in order. I'm pretty sure I do. I even did my Neptune Society stuff. I took care of that too.
I did too, so I'm with you on that.
Yeah, so that way I'm good to fly.
Yeah, they did you notice when you sign up for Neptune, which I did here in Santa Barbara, and of course it works worldwide, they even send you a box for your ashes.
Yeah, no, they gave me one.
Yeah, me too. Nice looking box, but they even
Nice
do that.
box. I took a picture of it and sent it to my son. I go, "This is where you'll find
Right.
instructions." I probably should. I should probably do it again once I get look at everything again and make sure.
It's good to, about every 5 years.
Hmm.
Just give yourself a refresher.
And it's probably been at least 10 years, if
Yeah,
not longer, for me. So that it is a good thing. And I moved to a different state,
yeah.
so
Makes a difference. Yeah.
And
yeah.
I did want to add in, because we lost Michelle earlier, she wanted to mention how important it is to like video or take pictures of the things you want to go to certain people and keep that in your file,
Yeah.
because a lot of things she came across that she, maybe her mother wanted it to go to somebody other than her, obviously not, because she was the one that's on the will, but yet, a lot of things were not there, that some of her relatives came in and cleaned out when her mother was sick. So, she probably could have gone after them and proved that her mother
Mhm.
left them for her. And, I mean, just being clear on what do you want to leave for somebody. I guess that was an interesting idea, to take photos or video of the things at the
Right.
time.
Hmm. Yeah. So it's given me some good food for thought. Like, how else can I prepare to make this easier, not only on myself, because I'm 70 now, but also on my family when I do pass.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Or maybe if you're the only one left with us, Debbie,
Yes,
Yeah.
she stayed the length. She
well,
stayed with us.
maybe we'll just close early.
Yeah. Well, we just really love your feedback, Debbie. So I'm glad you were here to tell us what really
Yeah.
resonated with you. And we're going to try to have interesting, different topics each month for the next 4 of them. And
Oh,
I want to review back to the wheel of awareness, because I think we kind of started on the outer ring of legacy. What do we want to leave behind in a way that helps our friends and loved ones that we care about to leave? What do we want to leave? But I want to circle back into some of the wonderful talents that you have, Mother, of sharing your wealth within, like your broth making and things that you've done with your life in some of those areas, like the physical body and emotional well-being. And we've talked about intergenerational healing, and I know that many family members have trouble talking with each other, so we've thought about things in the future to talk about on how do we converse with people who it's difficult to share our feelings with. And so any feedback you have also of what interests you to discuss with us, we want to create a thoughtful, caring community. So that's what we're happy you joined us today to do.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Don't forget, I'm coming in a few weeks.
Yes, so we can brainstorm some ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be there. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Good.
Thank you.
Well,
And
I'm
so
gonna
will my
try to.
mother, maybe.
She might
We
be.
hope you come my way soon. I think you're planning on coming my way soon, Mother, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm planning to be there in about within the next 2 weeks.
Oh, I don't know how many. Oh, I think I'm coming later than that. I'm
Okay.
coming in April.
Well, we'll see how it all comes together.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
coming in and oh yeah, for sure. I'm going to a wedding.
Well,
Nice.
I love to see you both, and I thank you for your time today. I'm going to stop the recording. We can still keep chatting.
No, I'll just bless everybody. Thank you for being with us.